Let me start with an easy one. Who's going to solve the world's problems? Or at least, who's going to have to deal with the problems of the future? Who's going to have to face up to a world that we can't even imagine yet? This is about our children. I think it's natural for every generation of parents to think that we've screwed the world up for our children, and yeah, we're right. we could have made more intelligent decisions. We could have been better at planning, better at forethought, more imaginative, more organized, more considerate. But no matter how much we love our children, we can't unscrew up the world just for them. This is not about changing the world. This is about how we prepare our children for whatever the world throws at them. So as a parent, of course, I care about this deeply. But I think we're coming to a time where we need to work together to get the best out of each other. So I welcome big, powerful companies taking a supportive approach on big issues. I want to live in that world where big brands look at where they can help and contribute, where they can focus on social purpose over superficial persuasion. And that's why I recently started my own company, to help brands put good things into the world. So we're a small company of filmmakers, inventors, and storytellers, and we're working with one of Unilever's biggest global brands, the Dirt Is Good group. And this is a brand of household laundry products that have always talked to their target market of mothers about their children and their children's development. So for the past year and a half, I've been on a journey to discover how childhood is changing in the 21st century, and how some of the old assumptions about how to bring up our children may be doing them a serious disservice. We created the Kids Today project to look at some of the complex issues of child development in a really simple way. We set out to see the world from a child's point of view. So to do this, we invented the iView camera. This is a head-mounted camera that is lightweight enough for a 2-year-old to wear, but high quality enough to really highlight the difference between being a 6-foot adult and a 3-foot child. And we had great fun with it. We saw how big the world looks when you're that little. We saw how fast it seems to run when you're that close to the ground. And we saw how children focus on a whole different set of things to adults. So speaking as the father of these 9-year-old twins, it's reassuring to see that children are not as crazy as they look. They just have a different way of seeing the world. They're coming at it from a whole different perspective. Our project started to give me a new appreciation of the world our children live in. When we take the time to see the world as someone else sees it, when we climb inside their skin and walk around in it, as Harper Lee says, we start to understand their motivations. What we previously saw as a sideshow becomes reality. And we were lucky. We met children in all sorts of different situations, locations, and cultures. From super urban Brazil to suburban India, we went to rural Indonesia, and we went around my home country, the UK. And across all these differences of circumstances, amongst all the playing and the studying and the chaos and the mess, one common theme stood out. Children's overwhelming desire to learn. A child's brain is the apex of evolution. It's far more potent than any computer. It's the greatest learning machine on the planet. But it's a learning machine that is so relentlessly capable that it is influenced by every single thing to which it is exposed. Children learn from everything all the time. They can't help it. But we cannot assume that a child will become clever just by dint of biology. They need the circumstances to allow them to develop the smartness to become a bright hope for the future. Now, we know that the next generation of children will face problems of increasing magnitude. And when problems seem to get bigger, we often fall back on a very basic default response. We do more of what seemed to work before. So we educate more, we control more, and we protect more. But when we see from a child's point of view, one striking thing becomes clear beside their relentless pursuit of learning. Our children are instructed, managed, supervised, and controlled by adults more than their preceding generations. We live a life of schedules, alarm clocks, examinations, even computer games. We are so much better than ever before at making rules for our children to follow. Because we love them so much, we don't want them missing any opportunity, or we don't want them exposed to any avoidable risk, danger, or dirt. I think I work pretty hard. I consider myself to be a grown-up. I've learned the rules. But when I think about the most important moments for me, the moments that define me, they're the moments when I didn't really follow someone else's instructions. And I think that's probably true for all of us, right? So on the day before I came out here, I was talking to my kids about, I was trying to get advice on how to cope with doing this. And they had all sorts of ideas. They thought that I should do a series of backflips to get onto the stage. And they thought I should definitely sing most of this presentation. But I said to them, but I can't do that, and you don't want me to do that. And then in a Zen-like moment of calm, one of my children turned to me and just said, "Oh, well, Daddy, you should do what you want then." And that is the best bet. He's right. It's the Oscar Wilde quote, be yourself because everyone else is taken. I'm a grown-up, and I still think it's a really big thing to learn how to be yourself. So through our modern benevolence, our kids are at risk of losing something vital. They're losing the time to learn how to make their own decisions. When our children start to see decision-making as external to them, as someone else's problem, then they see themselves as a victim of fate. They're just tossed about by circumstances. Life simply happens to them. But when we see decision-making as a natural part of what we do, we feel empowered and in control. We feel happier and more capable, and we're in a position where we can start to choose the life we want to lead. And more than this, if we think about the skills that equip children for an uncertain future, and if we think about the skills that modern companies want on their ideal resume, we talk about skills like adaptability, creativity, autonomy, and initiative. And these are all skills that involve an individual's ability to direct and manage themselves. If we don't allow children to learn how to take control of their lives, how can we expect them to grow up with the skills they need as future adults? Childhood will always be a fine balance. There will always be tensions about when we get involved and when we step back. But seeing from a child's point of view simply encourages us to empathize directly with the people in the middle of that situation. Now, the work I've been talking about today has been about our children, children who are lucky enough to be at risk of too much care. But there are millions of children with a very different set of problems, and every single one of them has the potential for a brighter future, given the right opportunities and support. And for the sake of a brighter future for all of us, we're going to need every child contributing to the very best of their ability. We're very excited about the next steps that we're planning for this journey. I've recently just come back from Mumbai, meeting some amazing kids, working with some great people, and we're hoping to visit Brazil and Vietnam later this year. So I'm glad to be involved with a big brand that is focusing on social purpose over persuasion, working to create a brighter future for kids everywhere. And I'm very pleased to say that there is more of that journey to come. Thank you.